Welcome to the virtual trustee forum. I welcome all of you who are in attendance today, and thank you for taking time out of your evenings to join our panelists here. We are prepping for an upcoming board meeting next week in Okemos on October 4th through 5th. So some of the topics that we have for you on the agenda are items that your board members will be evaluating, and it's your opportunity to hear a little bit more about those, as well as ask questions or give us some of your feedback to help facilitate our conversations when we come together as a group. If you are new to our virtual trustee forum, please know that you are muted at the moment. And when we get to any question and answers, there should be a tab, depending on what kind of device you're on, called Q&A. And if you type your question in there, I will be taking questions from that box. Sometimes I can interject that into a speaker's time. Otherwise, we'll make sure we gather all those questions for the very end. So with that, let's go ahead and begin for this evening. So the first thing on our agenda is I'm going to be just bringing you up to date a little bit on a topic that the Board of Trustees will be discussing in a strategic session. The board has taken it upon themselves to make much of their agenda focused on either generating ideas, generative talk, strategic discussion, or having broader discussions. And one of them is the registered dental assistant. The registered dental assistant has been in front of the Michigan Dental Association as active talk because a work group was formed a couple years ago called DAWG, or D-A-W-G, Dental Auxiliary Work Group. And the members of that work group brought to the board several proposals with recommendations on increasing the functions that the registered dental assistant could perform. The board did adopt those and recommended that those go to the Board of Dentistry. So just a couple weeks ago, that did occur. And I'm happy to report that the Board of Dentistry did accept most all of the proposals that the MDA forwarded for changes in rules, with one exception, and that would be the placement of all composite restorations by registered dental assistants. You may ask, how did the auxiliary group come up with these options? There are educators who serve on the work group. It's a pretty robust group, and they were looking at education that's already being received by the assistants. Another reason that we're focusing in on the registered dental assistants is it is often used by all of us who are speaking to the dental therapist issue as a wonderful alternative to the dental therapist of a workforce member that we already have in our practices, that we already utilize. But if we could utilize them more, they may be a much more efficient and feasible alternative. In addition, we have sent out a recent survey. Some of you may have filled that out. And in that survey, it was very apparent that most dentists who responded feel that there is, in fact, either shortage of dental assistants. They are hard to hire, not in their area, but then again, they're very valuable and they do respect what they can add to their team. So both the work group and the board will be looking at the robust data that came back from that survey and looking at, how can that be formulated down to help move the association forward, help provide, an auxiliary for you and your practices, or just advance, a dental team member that's, within our group currently. So as I said, this is more of a generative topic the board will be having. They're going to be spending quite a bit of time on it. We've gathered some information around it. Some of you may have contributed to some of that data, so I thank you for that. And I know we'll be getting much more out to you as the time goes on, as we continue to explore options with a registered dental assistant. So I'm going to stop talking there because I could probably talk about it much, much more, but I don't want to jump ahead of what the board's actually going to discuss, and get down to some of our other panelists that we have here with us this evening. So one of our first panelists to speak tonight is Dr. Jonathan Burns. He is going to be talking to you about an item that's coming from the Board of Trustees under the Public Education Campaign. So Jonathan?
Thank you, Dr. Peters. I'm the board liaison for the Public Education Campaign. The MDA has been running the public education campaign for over 30 years now, and that's that $300 line item that comes out of your dues. So it's a special assessment. Since 2016, the primary objective of the campaign is to drive patients into your chairs. It's done pretty well in doing that, but we've been asked to look at that again and see whether we should continue as the main focus of the campaign to put people into your chairs, to get patients to see an MDA dentist. So what we did was we did a survey in late July. There was 301 responses, and the findings were that the majority want to continue the campaign. First of all, that was a 79% want to continue the campaign and felt that it was worthwhile. However, 63% thought that the campaign should concentrate on education and awareness. That means education, dental IQ, increasing that. And awareness is the MDA being the oral health authority in Michigan. 37% thought that the main focus of the campaign should be to drive patients into the chairs. So we're looking at certain objectives, such as educating the public on the importance of oral health and making it a priority in people's lives, and positioning the MDA as the most trusted source for oral health information. So we are going to propose to the board to increase the public education aspect rather than the putting butts in the chair, so to speak. So I just want to go over a few of the ideas that we have for key messages that we're looking to enable. And one of them is that good oral health is an important part of overall health. A healthy body is not a healthy body without a healthy mouth, basically. That MDA dentists are committed to high standard of practice and are highly educated doctors. You don't need dental insurance to see a dentist. Continue one of our old messages, which is sip all day, get decay. I always like that one. And finally, some kind of cosmetic or appearance-based message. That works really well. I think that could be really, really emotional sometimes. To show somebody with a healthy mouth and show them that they need to go to the dentist in order to keep that. And so we're going to be talking about that at our board meeting. We welcome any input that you have as well. For our next speaker, Dr. Steve Conlon, go ahead.
Thanks, Jonathan. I wanted to discuss a proposal to amend our MDA Code of Ethics. Current MDA policy states that the ADA Code of Ethics is the governing code for the MDA. The MDA may add provisions to the Code of Ethics, but they must be more, not less restrictive than the ADA provisions. In response to a change to the ADA Code, Section 5H, Announcement of Specialization and Limited Practice, the MDA 2017 House of Delegates approved an amendment to the MDA Addition Section 5H of the Code. The addition was approved to clarify that in Michigan, that the dentist had to possess a valid health specialty license from the state of Michigan, since the state only recognizes 7 of the 9 ADA recognized specialties. The MDA received a request from the ADA Council on Ethics and Bylaws that the MDA remove the sentence, in addition, the dentist must possess a valid health practice specialty license from the state of Michigan from the MDA addition, as it suggests that it would not only be illegal, but unethical to advertise as a specialist that is not recognized by the state of Michigan. Several edits were also requested to conform to current practices. Since the ADA will be making these same changes to the ADA code, the MDA addition would be redundant once the sentence is removed. It is believed that there should be some mention of the Michigan law regarding advertising as a specialist. The ADA attorney did not see an issue with the MDA commentary stating, in Michigan, in order to announce as a specialist, the dentist must possess a specialty license from the state of Michigan. This requirement arises not from our shared code of ethics, but from Michigan law. The removal of the addition and addition to our MDA commentary will be sent to the MDA House for consideration in 2019. And this is on our agenda at our next board meeting. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over now to Steve Marah.
Thanks, Steve. My name is Steve Mara, and I am going to be talking about perhaps one of the most exciting areas always, which is finance. And so I am with the Board Committee on Finance. I just want to report briefly on the budget and touch on a couple of issues, and then also briefly discuss a recent meeting we had with respect to our audit committee, auditor deliberations. With regard to the budget, some of you may have recently seen the report from our current treasurer, Dr. Shunk, relative to our financial position in 2018. Just as a brief overview for some of you who may not be aware of the depth of the ADA budget, MDA budget rather, pardon me. Our current total assets are just under $12 million when you include the building and the different funds and our as well as our annual budget. Our operations budget comes in at just under 600,000. We have a net income, pardon me, I misspoke, at August 31st of 595,000, just under 600,000. But as you know, dues come in the beginning of the year and they slowly get spent. We do anticipate still being on the positive side toward the latter part of the year with a net income of just under $1,000. We expect the increases next year with regard to our income as well as the expense side to be basically flat, although they'll increase each about a little over 1%. And however, our position is still relatively strong. Our investment income has stayed pretty well in the growth cycle, although we do always confer with our experts in Grand Rapids who give us sort of a forecast somewhat as far as what they see in the coming months. But they think that our mix is correct and our position is still good in our reserve funds. I'd also like to briefly mention that at a recent meeting, we invited some finalist proposals for auditing firms. And this is a very important function for all organizations to have an auditing firm separate from our usual accounting practices that goes through item by item and each of our budgetary items just to make sure that everything is going to appear in order if we are in an audit situation, particularly from the IRS. And so what we did is we sent requests for proposals out to several major firms, and our current firm being one of the finalists, and then a new firm that, to cut to the chase, that we ended up deciding with because both were very well qualified. But in the end, we decided that it may be nice to have a fresh perspective to look over our financial position and materials. And also, most importantly, there was a very significant difference with respect to the budget of about a $50,000 savings that we will realize with this other firm. And we also feel that our accounting practices have been very clean and well done, and so that we're in a good position toward this. So I'll certainly be open to answering any questions in that respect, but I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Marah. Up next to talk a little bit more about our exciting topic of dental therapists, something that we appreciate all of our member dentists getting on board and helping out with, is Mr. Bill Sullivan. Bill?
Hi. To give you an update on where things stand with the dental therapist, next Wednesday, October 3rd, the House Health Policy Committee will be doing a hearing on the bill. It will be for testimony only. There will not be a vote. We have a pretty good lineup that will be testifying for, not a pretty good, a very good lineup that will be testifying on behalf of the MDA. Dr. Deb Peters will be leading it off. Dr. Shelley Jones, Dr. Michael Campow, and Dr. Dave Borlis will all be addressing certain aspects of the dental therapist bill and the access to care issue. And again, that's going to be next Wednesday, October 3rd at 9 a.m. in Lansing. Further updates as far as how the lobbying is going on the bill. We have met with 102 of the 110 House members so far. We're hoping to have all 110 met with within the next week or so. In addition to that, there have been in-district meetings taking place between dentists and their legislators. Every member of the House Health Policy Committee has had a member district meeting. In addition to that, we've had other meetings take place with representatives who aren't on the Health Policy Committee as well. In addition to the lobbying in Lansing, we had a pretty aggressive media plan that's taken place over the last several weeks. That started off back in August, where we had a newsletter go out. We quarterly do a newsletter to the Michigan legislature, just updating them on issues related to the access issue and also things that the MDA has been doing on the access issue. The last issue that we sent out focused on the survey that went, many of you are aware of, showing how few people would actually be comfortable having a dental therapist work on them. After that, we had social media posts go up. They were micro-targeted to people in the legislature so that it was only being seen by staff members and legislators in the House of Representatives. This week, we've been doing our phone to action and engage action alert. And for those of you who haven't yet, remember to text MDA to 52886. We have a lot of people that haven't done it yet, and we really need people to do it. So if you are a leader in your component, please get other people to do it. As I said, House Health Policy Committee meeting is going to be next week. Both sides are going to get 20 minutes to testify, and then the plan is to have 20 minutes of questioning. And I think, like I said, I think we're in pretty well positioned to put up a good argument as to why the dental therapist isn't needed.
Dr. Bennett Vigna, you had something you wanted to comment on.
Yes, I did. Can you hear me okay?
We can. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So I was really excited to get that text message, and I clicked on the link that was below on the bottom of the text message, and it was super easy. It took me to my email, and it put in, I just had to type in my demographic information, like my address, and then it emailed my my representative, Mr. Singh, and it filled in, the email, what I was opposing with the dental health therapist and why, and I just signed my name and it was done. It was sent. It was so easy. It took like a minute to do it. And then the next step, which was really cool, was that there was a little phone icon there, and it was like, would you like us to call you so you can talk to your representative? And so I clicked on that, and within like 2 seconds, my cell phone was ringing, and it was kind of a robocall from the MDA, and they were coaching me with they gave me like 2 talking points to bring up when I called my representative, Mr. Singh. And so I listened to those points and I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget them. And then at the very end of that call from the MDA, it asked if I wanted to be connected to Mr. Singh's office. And I just clicked yes, and it magically connected me to their office. And then I talked to a staffer who answered the phone. And I said, hi, this is Vince Bennett Vigna. I'm a dentist from East Lansing, and I oppose the dental health therapist bill, and these are 2 points why I oppose it. And I rattled those off, and then they asked me kindly if I would like a response from Mr. Singh within the week, and I said yes. And so he's supposed to email me within the week and get a response. And so that was like step number 2. And then step number 3 was really cool. There was a little Twitter icon there. I clicked on that, and my Twitter account asked me if I would like to allow this application that I was in, through the text alert that was sent by the MDA, allow them to access my Twitter account, and I clicked yes. And then magically a message went into my Twitter feed that said why I opposed the Dental Health Therapists Act, and it also populated it with a little background information on what the Dental Health Therapists Act was, and then so I just clicked on that, and it went went automatically to my Twitter feed, which was awesome. So it was like a triple threat. You get an email to your representative, you get a phone call to your representative, and you get a Twitter message that goes out to everybody that's following you on Twitter. And I did that like within 5 minutes over lunch, and it was so easy to do. And I just applaud the MDA and Bill Sullivan and everybody that helped set that up. It was so awesome and easy to use, and I would encourage everybody to sign up for those text alerts. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Bennett Vigna. It's the first person I've heard that's had that much to offer. And, I think it's truly easy to use. How nice that you can have a phone call, but you're also coached on what to say. So easy, but also I think you're going to feel supported. And remember, it takes members. It takes you getting in there. The MDA, Bill Sullivan, we can't do it individuals. It's going to take our collective work. So thank you for all of you who signed up. If you haven't, please do. I don't care if you pick up your phone right now and start signing up, as Bill put that up there. Remember, it's 52886. The words MDA. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Let me see if I don't think any other question popped up. No. Perfect. Okay, so also speaking next is also Mr. Bill Sullivan. He's going to talk a little bit about an upcoming issue with specialty recognition.
And this kind of follows with what Dr. Conlon talked about earlier. In Michigan right now, there are 7 specialties that are recognized, and those are oral and maxillofacial surgery, orthodontics and dental facial orthopedics, prosthodontics, periodontics, pediatric dentistry, endodontics, and oral and maxillofacial pathology. Now, the ADA, on the other hand, recognizes 9 specialties. So in addition to the 7 that I just read, the ADA also recognizes dental public health and oral and maxillofacial radiology. At the last CGIA meeting, the committee took up whether the MDA should work toward getting a bill passed in Michigan to allow for those 2 specialties that aren't recognized in Michigan that the ADA does recognize, which are dental public health and oral and maxillofacial radiology. And the recommendation that the CGI is making to the board is that the MDA do pursue adding those 2 specialties to the list of Michigan. Michigan's unique in that the state has to pass a law and recognize a specialty in order for that specialty to be recognized in the state of Michigan. Other states don't do it that way. So in Michigan, it takes a bill to get introduced and passed and signed into law in order for a specialty to be recognized. At the same time that the CGI considered those 2 specialties, there was also a request from Dr. Gabby Kaspow, who many of you probably know, and he was looking to get oral facial pain recognized as a specialty in Michigan. What the committee recommended to do there, the recommendations are being made to the MDA Board of Trustees, is that the MDA would support efforts to get oral facial pain recognized by the National Committee on Recognition of Dental Specialties, which was a group formed by the ADA to do the reviewing and make recommendations as far as whether new specialties are recognized. So what the MDA is recommending, or what the CGI is recommending, is that we help in efforts to get oral facial pain recognized by that national committee. Once and if the national committee recognizes this as a specialty, then the MDA would work toward getting it passed in law so that it's recognized in the state of Michigan.
Great. Thank you so much. Are there any questions on specialty recognition? Perfect. Bill, before I move on to Karen, or Mrs. Burgess, since she has our last reports, could you please give us an update on how many people have actually responded to the phone to action or the new text message alert system and signed up?
The number, the last time I checked was 2 days ago, and we had about 1,000. It was 1,003 had signed up under the new phone to, or the new the phone to action. Now, I also got some information yesterday about the number of messages that have gone out, because as you all, many of you know, you got the text alert or the email alert asking you to contact your legislators. Dr. Bennett Vigna just talking about, and it's a mixed bag. There's some good and there's some bad. Some legislators, one legislator received 75 emails, and that was good because that person is undecided and sits on the Health Policy Committee. So that was very good. About half of the House Health Policy Committee got 10 or more emails sent, and that is by far the means that people are using to contact the legislators by email. So half of the people have received 10 or more emails, and that goes from anywhere from 10 up to 75. However, the other half of the committee has received 1 or 0. And in Monroe County in particular is very difficult. And then some of the Wayne County areas, we're not getting a lot of people responding. So we're going to make another push tomorrow to try to get some of these areas that did not respond to respond, because it's very important. When I was at the Capitol yesterday, I had several legislators comment, the ones who were receiving the emails commented about it. So they're taking notice, and it does help. And we've got to get those areas that aren't responding to contact their legislators, because it makes a big difference.
Bill, could you comment on why it's so important that these members of the Health Policy Committee be contacted?
Well, this year, it's an election year. And so they're very, very keen to what people in their districts are saying and what they want. And if they don't hear from you, they're going to hear from the other side. And I know the other side is doing it because they sent out a similar type of alert to their people to contact the legislators. And I know they're calling because we got a call today from somebody about it. So it's important because it works, and it's important because the other side's doing it too. And we can't let them get more calls to their legislators than we're getting, or emails, or tweets.
Great. Yes, thank you. And the goal is to keep it in the Health Policy Committee, not let it come out of committee. So it's really important. So doctors, if you're on and you're from Wayne and Monroe County, please take action now. So our next agenda item, Ms. Burgess will be discussing, is a new endorsement of a U.S. bank credit card. Ms. Burgess?
Thank you, Dr. Peters. Yes, this comes from our for-profit subsidiary, the MDA Insurance and Financial Group. And you know that IFG is responsible for generating a great deal of non-dues revenue, and that works to provide money for the MDA budget so that we can provide services to our members. And if the MDA membership actually had to pay for everything we did and we had no non-dues revenue, the dues would be approximately $350 to $400 more a person. So that's why it's very important for us to keep a regular flow of non-dues revenue, but we're also very key on making sure that all the services and the insurance products that we provide to our members are the highest quality and very competitively priced. So we want the members to win in 2 ways. We want them to get a great deal, and we want the little bit of profit that the MDA takes, it goes to support their association and the benefits that they receive as a member. So that's why it's very important when we find out that we're going to be losing the opportunity for an existing endorsement, that we have the opportunity to replace that with a high quality alternative. And some of the members of the House and listeners to this webinar might be aware that we had, sometimes the law changes, like with the Affordable Care Act, and we had to respond to the loss of our previous MDA health plan by creating a new health plan. And in this case, we lost our endorsement from Bank of America. They simply did not want to be in the business of providing affinity cards anymore. So it was not that our program was wrong in any kind of way. It's just that they were letting go of that business. And so the Insurance and Financial Group looked around to see who could we come to a new agreement with. And what we found was that there is a general decline in the number of banks who are interested in doing affinity cards. However, there was a pretty good deal available to co-endorse with the American Dental Association for US Bank. So we looked at it. The insurance and financial group decided that it was our best opportunity to provide a good service to our members while maintaining a solid revenue stream for non-dues revenue. So when all was said and done, the insurance and financial group is recommending to the MDA Board of Trustees that we do co-endorse US Bank with the American Dental Association. So it is going before our board. As you know, anything that involves the use of our name and our reputation as an association does require the okay, our MDA Board of Trustees, before an endorsement can move forward. So that's what's under consideration next week at the board meeting.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any questions from anyone on the US Bank card? Before we move along, I do see a question in the chat, and it's for Mr. Bill Sullivan, and it says, since only a hearing is taking place on October 3rd, is there any indication of when a vote will take place in the House? By Dr. Chris Garecki. Bill, you want to take that?
Yes, yeah, that very good question. So here's what's going on. The chair of the Health Policy Committee, Representative Vaupel, does not support the bill. He does not like it. He didn't want to do a hearing. The reason he is doing a hearing is that Senator Shirkey, who is the sponsor of the dental therapist bill, is also chair of the Health Policy Committee in the Senate. And Senator Shirkey is holding up bills that House members want in his committee. And in order to break that logjam there, Representative Vaupel has agreed to do a hearing on the bill. As far as when a vote will take place, it won't be before the election if one takes place. Representative Vaupel doesn't want to do a vote, but what it's going to come down to is how much Senator Shirkey pushes this bill. As we've discussed in the past, he is going to be the majority leader next term. He's in a very powerful position. If he pushes this and works the issue hard, there could be a vote on it after the election. And, we don't know what is going to happen at that point because we've talked about lame duck before, and in lame duck, deals get made, things get traded. You just don't know what's going to happen. So it's really going to come down to what will Senator Shirkey do. If he invests a lot of effort in this and pushes it, it's going to be a tough fight. If he doesn't, this thing dies. It's as simple as that.
Great, thank you very much. So we've talked about a lot. We're coming to the end of our agenda. Equally important to the board is strategic planning, because as we utilize these goals, as we determine and we look at our programs. So Ms. Burgess will go into what the board will be looking at under strategic planning at our upcoming meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Peters. Yes, we are about halfway through our strategic planning cycle. Our current strategic plan is dated 2016 through 2020, so we're about halfway through. And it is an evergreen document, which means that the board receives reports on the strategic plan at almost every meeting. We have a dashboard that was associated with it. It was important for us, halfway through to kind of take the temperature of the plan. Is it meeting our needs? Have things changed? Are the priorities that the board sees coming forward for the MDA actually reflected in the plan? Do our objectives reflect what we are still trying to accomplish? So as part of that exercise, we did have the Board of Trustees come forward with a list of issues and topics that they felt were critical for the MDA over the next 12 to 24 months. And we went through a process where we prioritized them, and we got them down to about 14, and then they held a vote via SurveyMonkey, the online survey tool, and kind of ranked them. from the standpoint of which were the issues that most board members felt were most important. At the same time, we kind of undertook a similar process with the executive team at the MDA. And the interesting thing about the process was that while the board and the staff came up with different priorities, all the priorities were in alignment with the current strategic plan, and when it comes to the broad goals and many of the objectives. So just as a reminder, I don't anticipate that there will be any change in the broad goals, and they're pretty solid goals. They include a membership goal of delivering exceptional member value, increasing member participation, assuring organizational sustainability, and making sure that the MDA's capacity will be sufficient to meet the needs of our membership. Under those goals, we had specific measurable objectives. And I'll just read to you what the objectives, if the board approves the changes, would be. The current objective that would not change is maintaining or increasing the percentage of members giving MDA top scores in member value ratings. I think we're always going to want that. Objective 2 would be to set the annual member retention rate at 96% or better. Objective 3 would be to maintain the number of full dues paying members while maintaining an active market share of 75% or greater. The fourth would be annual budgeted revenue exceeds budgeted expense, which is the current goal that's unchanged. Objective 5 is ensure mechanisms are in place to support components serving members. That also would be unchanged. But a new objective would be enhance processes to support strategic focus and effective implementation. And that goes to both the side of leadership development and then administrative processes at the ADA. Oh, pardon me, MDA. Gosh, a complete blast from the past. So, you know, we looked at these. These all have been discussed at various board meetings. We also had the executive committee provide feedback on them and say what they felt was appropriate. So it'll go before the full board for a discussion. Now, just to let you know, some of the issues that were identified as critical by the board do all have a home on here. And addressing issues associated with teledentistry, key strategic priority, leadership development and succession planning for component dental societies, adequate funding of Medicaid, something that would be near and dear to everyone, dentally specialty recognition guidelines and inclusion in the code of ethics, etc. These are all items that we will be addressing in the draft strategic plan. So, as I said, as a living plan, we are always seeking to support these objectives. We're always seeking to make sure that the MDA is moving forward. And we're also seeking to make sure that the board is engaged and actively living the plan, as will our members as well. We want to make sure that the members' perceptions absolutely is reflected in the plan, and the things that they want to see happen are things that we are addressing. So I think it's going to be a fruitful discussion and a thorough discussion. We expect that in about 2 years, we would probably undertake the more thorough, going back to the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, as well as doing an environmental scan so that we make sure that we're taking a look at the outside as well as the inside. But in the meantime, this is kind of our mid-plan check-in and tweaking is how I would think of it for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's see if there's any new questions. I encourage any of you to type in any questions. And while you're thinking about that, are there any other comments that any of the panelists, would like to highlight again, or something perhaps you forgot when you're on there, or any other topics that anyone who's on there? And yes, please text to the number 52886, the letters MDA. And then, as Dr. Bennett Vigna said, follow through with all those steps. Just doing that isn't enough. It is very important that you go in and complete the data field. You have to fill in your data so that in the future, it's all completed for you. So very important. Appreciate all your support as we get ready for the hearing next Wednesday. So any of the panelists have anything else they want to add to anything they forgot? Good.
Dr. Peters, I would just like to give a plug for the next issue of the journal. I see our editor is sitting here and being quiet about it, but this is a phenomenal issue, in my opinion. We have some really wonderful content in there, and a lot of legislative and advocacy related news. So if that's a topic that is of interest to you, you're going to want to grab your journal right out of your mailbox and find a quiet corner to read it in, because it's a great issue. I'm very compliments to all.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thumbs up from our editor on that one. Nice job to the team there. Well, I see no other comments in front of us. So I want to thank you for taking the time to log in tonight. And as always, thank you for the time that you give as leaders to the Michigan Dental Association for your dedication to the House of Delegates. Please know that the board is here for you. And if you ever have any questions or comments, we do welcome your feedback. Our board meeting is next week, Thursday afternoon, and then all day Friday. And you're always welcome to join us in Okemos. So again, thank you to our panelists. I appreciate your time as well. And one more time, Bill, what is that? Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.